Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to meet you today. My name is Anna Popławska, and I'm so happy to be able to run this webinar with you, Play and Learn with Adult Students. I hope that you can see and hear me all right. Please let me know in the chat. Yeah, each presenter, I think, feels 10 times better when he or she sees that people can actually see and hear what I'm saying. Good. All right, so but before we start our topic, I would like to remind you a few rules that apply to all of Education Global webinars. So first of all, we are very nice society, very nice social group of teachers. So and we are very nice to one another, also in the chat box. And nice to the host as well. The webinar is being recorded, so you will get the recording probably tomorrow, and together with the certificate. And I hope that you are going to like it. Okay, so as you know, I don't like kind of big introductions and stuff. So let's start our topic. So play and learn with adult students. I'm a huge fan of playing and learning because normally when you teach, it's so normal and it's so natural to use games with children. It's and toddlers just to play and learn with them. There is nothing strange about bringing games, board games to classes with children. But when it comes to adult students, very often teachers feel kind of hesitant to do it. They don't really like, and they really think that students may not expect to play in a class. So basically, very often teaching adult is bringing copies, doing textbooks, and just going from one exercise to another. Of course, this approach is also good. I don't mean that we should, throw away all of the textbooks through the window and just start playing. But I will show you how to introduce gamification into your classes and how to gamify your classes. By the way, I'm really curious if you really know this term to gamify something, because I'm trying to gamify my classes for some time, and I really like the outcomes of it. So the gamification has been very important during my classes for last, I think, 2 years, with really great results. But what does it mean to gamify your class? Gamification adds dynamics to the process of learning, making the process more enthusiastic and engaging. But remember, I don't mean that your whole class should be a game. The main focus is to engage your students, to make them more motivated and to make them really want to engage and take part in the class. So gamification describes strategies that bring elements often used and associated with games into a non-game environment, which is really important because a lesson is a non-game environment for students, but bringing these parts and pieces of games environment is really good one. So what you can bring, badges, leaderboards, quizzes, points and scores, levels or challenges. I'm a huge fan of points and scores, but also levels and challenges. So you don't need to incorporate everything. You can choose whatever you like. Quizzes are also very nice, or the leaderboards. If you play Kahoot games, quizzes, and so on, you have leaderboards always, and you have badges awarded to your students, which is kind of basic when you play such games. But I show you how to incorporate the rules in your normal class, when you use a course book, a textbook, and your students have notebooks, because my students have notebooks. Although I'm a huge fan of games, gamification, non-stardent techniques of teaching and learning, and I bring lots of technology into my classes, all of my students, they really have textbooks. and they always have notebooks, because it's really important for me that they are able to keep track of our progress. We know where we are heading, and we know what we want to cover, because gamification is not about turning the lesson into a game. When there is no objective, it's difficult to run a class, because each of my classes has objectives, of course. And there are lots of benefits of gamification. As I said before, motivation. Students are really motivated. Also, I very often try to turn a normal exercise, and I try to gamify this normal exercise into a gamified exercise, because then the students are really more motivated. I will show you examples of that in a second. Gamification also gives a sense of control. So gamified tasks give students the feeling of being in power, which taps into their intrinsic motivations, and also a sense of competition. My students love competing, and today we have this session for adult students. With children, I really try to be careful with competition. I don't like students to compete too much, because they can't somehow cope with losing. But with adults, you don't have this danger. With adults, they really love competition, and they can do really lots to get points. Because people, especially adults, are competitive by nature. So set goals, make them compete. But remember, they don't have just to compete with themselves and others. They can compete also with time, and I'm going to use it later on. But let's remember about some risks. First of all, if you overuse gamification, so heavy usage is one of the biggest risks, because, all right, it's tempting to use it during each class. It's tempting to use lots of it, but remember, you simply cannot do it all the time, because each of your class has to have objectives. If you don't have objectives, and when your only objective is to have fun, is to just play a game, play Kahoot, play quizzes, or any other game, you can have a problem. So please remember that gamification is just adding extra value to your class, making your students more engaged, more motivated, but it's not the sake of the class of its own. So try to build up game experience during your normal exercises. And as I told you before, competing with the time is, I think, one of the best ingredients of gamification in my classes, because it's very easy to compete with the time, and it's very easy to use it with all of the exercises you can think of. So think about a conversation. You can normally have a conversation on different topics with your students. So they may draw topics to discuss, they may have their role plays to act out. But once you introduce also a little bit of gamification into their conversation activities, the activity becomes much more interesting. But of course, remember that the lower the level is, the less super attractions you should provide. So if you have very low-level students who are really intimidated to speak, you may not want to introduce all of the gamification at once. But when I teach adults on quite higher levels, by that I mean intermediate and above, I love using this technique. So how does it work? So let's say that my students need to respond and answer a question. And depending on their level and depending what you want to ask, you can ask them to answer as many questions as they can in, for example, 20 seconds per question, or 1 minute per question, or 90 seconds per question. You can introduce different tasks here. For example, with 20 seconds, it can be very, very quickly. For example, what did you have for breakfast? What are you wearing today? So they need to quickly answer to each of the questions. It doesn't have to be 20 seconds. But also, if you want to work on fluency, you can prepare a different set of questions. For example, what's happening right now in politics in your country, or what are your plans for holidays, and so on. And the time provided that you display is the time they cannot stop before the end of the time provided. So, for example, if they have 1 minute for for the answer, they have to keep talking for 1 minute, giving answer, and it really builds up in a very nice way the fluency of a student, because for 1 minute they need to keep talking, and my students. In the beginning, they didn't like it because it made them speak, but now they can see the benefits of this exercise. So, providing very, very nice technique here using the time has very, very good benefit. Also, you can use the time in a different way in a speaking exercise. So, for example, you can conduct a speaking exercise, say the same in, for example, 30 seconds or 60 seconds. So let's say that your students answered a question and they answered the question in 30 seconds or in 60 seconds. So in the second round, you can ask them to make the sentence or the answer shorter, for example, to make it kind of more, I would say, thought over. So instead of 60 seconds, they need to respond in 30 seconds, or you may want them to elaborate more on the question. So instead of 30 seconds, they have to answer to the same question in 60 seconds. It's quite challenging, but still very simple and very, very effective. So as you can see, not much of your preparation, but the outcome is really, really cool. So I highly recommend this exercise. And here, still fighting with time is totally enough, and students really sense the competition. Also, when you revise vocabulary, you can divide students into pairs, into groups, and they can, for example, explain to each other words that they have on small pieces of paper. So, for example, you can just check how many words they were able to explain in, for example, 1 minute or in 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And once the time factor appears, once they have to find the time, the motivation is simply bigger, and they really want to speed up, and they want to be the first. Another factor which is really cool if you think about gamification, and when you think about gamifying your classes, are the points. The points that you can award for giving the right answer, but also for creating questions. So that's another exercise which is really, really handy for me, because students work more than I do. So in the beginning, I ask my students to create questions for 1, for 2, and 3 points, which are related to the article that, for example, has been read for the given class, or, for example, relating to the video that they watched at home. That's totally up to you. It's totally flexible what you choose. But still, let's say that their homework was to watch a video about a given topic. So I ask my students to prepare questions for their partner or the second group of students. So again, here we have group competition, where they have 1, 2, or 3 point questions. So 1 point is a fairly easy question. For 2 points, quite difficult, and for 3 points, quite a difficult question for a detail, for example, which was mentioned in the video. So students, first of all, prepare questions, but also then we have the play mode, when they really have to, first of all, choose a question, and they have to choose for how many points they want to answer. So here, students can prepare questions together, they can just do it in a group. But I play usually a game when I have around 10 questions for each point prepared. And they really like it. I really like preparation of homework and for the class in a way. But also you can use different system for points. You can award points for 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 points for given categories, for example. So you can play, for example, a revision game when students have to. You can prepare the game. So I usually write down words that I find quite easy from the whole chapter for 100 points, and then for 2, 3, 4, and 500. And they just ask me about okay, so Anna, give me a word for 500 points, and I just read it aloud, and they have to make a sentence with this word, and they have to give me a definition of this word. So then they get 500 points. So again, it's very, very easy for me. But here, the only rule is you have to keep track of vocabulary that your students have. During each lesson, I have a total list of words that we were learning, and they asked me during the class. So it's much easier for me because I have a total track of vocabulary that we do together in class. So this exercise is really, really easy for me to prepare by myself. I just copy and paste from different files of vocabulary that I keep having with my students, because now I teach only online. I don't have any classes, face-to-face classes, and I use Google File for my notes during my class. So I just always write the date, and then when they ask me about vocabulary or anything, I just keep writing in this one Google document, which is for me very easy because I just share the file once, and everything is one file, and it's easier, really easier for me to be able to refer to the words that we had 1 or 2 weeks ago. But then when we have this kind of vocabulary practice, I just open the file, copy and paste words, and I just decide which words would be for 1, 2, 3, or 4, 500 points. So I totally recommend this kind of approach. Another thing where they can compete with time are task stations. So you can assign, for example, time limit for all of the stations that your students must complete during the class. But that depends if you teach online or face-to-face. In face-to-face situations, usually you leave different tasks just cut around the room, so they have to go from place to place, and the task stations look like that. You have different things that they have to do. So in some stations they have some questions that they have to be answered. In different stations they have to read a text and answer some questions. In other tasks they have to write something. So I just create, of course remember that when you create such tasks, remember about your class objectives, because as I said in the introduction part of my presentation, each class has its own objectives, and if you have the objectives in mind, it's much easier to create task stations, because very often resemble the activities that we would normally do in our course books or in our notebooks, but just shifting the way how they perform the exercise really has a very positive impact on their motivation. But when I teach online, I also create task stations, but usually they get one shared file with lots of external links for different things that they need to do, or they need to visit or read or find some extra information, for example, in 2 or 3 minutes time. During the class, I try not to build very long online classes. I try not to build very long task stations, because students may feel lost and may just lose the interest in the activity, or simply be bored. So I use more task station, or I used to use more of task stations before when I ran face-to-face classes, because then it was much easier to monitor and work with my students. Now in online environment, it's quite more challenging, but I also like this exercise because it's very dynamic, and if you introduce time, students are really, really motivated. Also, there is a very nice application that I would like to show you. It's called Classroom Screen, and I'm really curious if you've seen this exercise. This website, sorry, I'll just share my screen. I just have here prepared my share screen button. So you should see my screen now. All right, so now you should see, yeah. So that's the Classroom Screen. What's that? Usually when I run my class, I have it opened, and it's just there. It's just there during my class. And how it works, okay? So when I told you that I like fighting with the clock, so here when you just click on more widgets, you have something which is called Stopwatch, or you have timer here. So if I need an exercise where my students complete, for example, in 2 minutes time, I just press here, and 2 minutes are counted down by the watch. It's really, really easy to use. Of course, it's just 52 seconds. As you can see, also this blue circle looks quite nice, and it's very easy to show my students the time passing. Of course, you can use it on your mobile phone. You can use it just display the phone. But I like this for more because it's more kind of I would say comfortable to see this on the screen all the time, and at the end it makes a sound and so on. So. And it's very handy in this application, because this application has one more thing that you can use apart from using the classroom screen just for the timer. But they also have the dice or the dices, and there are lots of games you can play with that, because when you saw your clock here, they also in more widgets have this place dice. You can of course make it bigger, so you can just or you can, I think, yeah, when you press spotlight it can be in the middle of it, and you can just press one button and you throw a dice and you have given number of let's say scores, points, the results. But you can also throw with more than one dice. Okay, so you can, for example, use 2 or 3 dices at one time. That's basically that. So you can have, for example, here 2 separate ones, but it's also possible to throw 2 or 3 dices at the same time. Okay, so basically, yes. Oh yes, it was here. So when you press this kind of flower thing, you can just choose how many dices you want to throw at the same time. Of course, if you want to have this kind of dice where you have to up to 20 or up to 12, the result is also possible. There are lots of elements, but I don't usually play with them because I usually choose the most basic one. But if you want to throw 3 dice at the same time, it's also possible. And what can you do with that? As I showed you in the slide here. Okay, so you can have, for example, 3 categories: who, where, and what about. So before the game, you can just create a table where you have, for example, 6 different characters placed who are just located in 6 different locations, and they can be doing 6 different things. So then when students, for example, throw the 3 dices, and they can see 4, 4, and 3, and 6. So they can choose which parts of the table, for example, they have to use for this story or for this sentence to build, because you can also have this table with grammar tenses. So it's possible to build it also in this way. And it's very simple. It's really easy to use, and my students really enjoy using that. And especially when you have the game also with the stopwatch or the timer, it's really great fun for them. So try to use it. Another website that I really love using with my students is called Wordwall.net. I will just add it because you may not know this website. But if you're from Poland, for sure, Wordwall.net, for sure you know this website. It's really, really convenient to use, because once you create an exercise, you can recreate this exercise into different templates, and also you can prepare handouts. I'll show you just simple example. I have here a list of human resource problems, and I just pasted here the whole list of different problems that human resource may have. So once I click spin it, all of the topics are kind of chosen for my students, for example, to talk about it. So, for example, the company needs to be downsized, and then they, for example, students may have to run a dialogue about it. But on the right hand here, you have different things that you can use how to change this exercise. So, for example, if you prefer random cards, and to be honest, with adult students, I prefer random card because it's faster. So I just, keep changing here the topics of our discussions. But also, you can have this exercise, for example, open the box, so your students may ask you, okay, so I want number 9, or I want number 4. So it's a very nice way of introducing questions for them. Also, you may have an anagram, but if you have a really long sentence, and here I think this one is better for words, not for the whole sentences, because it's quite difficult. But still, you can have matching pairs, so it's a kind of memory game. Okay, so yeah, everything is okay. Okay, so now you have to find the pairs, but still, I think it's better when you have, for example, here words and translations. But still, once you create it, it's very, very easy to. It's very, very easy to just, as you can see, keep changing and switching the templates. Also, you may use the printables, because once you create an exercise, as you can see, you may print it. All of the things almost which were used in the online version, it's possible to have printed, and the printouts look pretty nice, I have to say. I will just go back to the interactive because I will just show you one more thing. You can also change the theme of each game, so it can be more flashy, but also here you can have the timer, or you don't have to have the timer, but also you can have spin power or of high and low power, and you can just, as you can see here, change the activities. So it's easy. So where is my screen? Okay, so you may spin it in a very easy way, and basically lots of different activities to be prepared. I absolutely like this exercise, and then you can eliminate, for example, the question if your students have already answered it. Another game that I love playing with my students is Quizlet. It doesn't have to be a game in the beginning, but I will show you the matching activity first, because I really like it, and my students also like, because it's very easy to create Quizlet exercises when you have this vocabulary. When you create, I'll just show you quickly how to create it. So I will show you how I quickly create sets, okay? Because when you just click here on import, so let's say that I just write in this way, and you just paste words, okay? So you can see that between term and definition, you can have a tab. So instead of space, I will just put a tab. The Quizlet knows which one is the question and which one is the answer. You just have to choose the language just to show Quizlet which language you want. But usually I think it can detect a language now. But still, I always use this way of creating words for games for my students, adult students, because it's really fast. And I told you before that I use this Google files. I just copy paste, and it's very easy to do it. But okay, once you know how to create an exercise, I will just go back to my set. It's Polish and English, because my adult students love learning with Polish translations. You can also use definitions here. So in the previous way, as I showed you how I created, you can just paste a word, tab, and you can use definitions. So it's up to you which one you choose. But I'll show you, there are lots of words, okay, with their definitions. And when I press match, okay, and you just use this address that you can see here, okay, so quizlet.com/610944919/match, okay. Okay, I will just change, because I think you all the time see the word wall. Okay, so I will just paste it here. Okay, so, and I will just display it. So you should see it now. Okay, so you are no this one. Okay, so look what's happening. In this way, it's very difficult when I say natychmiastowe, which is instant. Here, it doesn't look good, and I hate the way it's just created. But it's just important to use the word micro. Okay, in the address. Okay, and look, it looks in this way. Okay, so basically where you should put it. Okay, so once again I will just this micro match, I will just create another banner for you. Okay, so you will see how I created. Okay, add banner. Okay, so let's have a look. So now you see this word micro, so you just add it manually, okay, with your fingers. So when you add micro, and then you can really play the game. For example, the wzmacnia, which is enhance, okay, extend, for example, instant, instant, where is that? Instant, okay, okay. So you can just keep clicking and they disappear, and it really looks much better when you organize it in this way. With Quizlet, there is one more, basically. Also, your students don't need to have Quizlet accounts in order to play the game. When you look at this link that you can see right now, it's enough if you send them the link. Also, you as the visitors, you may just visit the links and you can just rewrite them. And you can just play the game even if you don't belong to my class. And also you can see the time and you have the score. I have the paid version of Quizlet, so I can see when my students are in my class and they have accounts, I see their results and I see where they made mistakes. So it's easier for me, but you don't need to do that. You just can use Quizlet whenever you want. Totally with your students. They don't need to open accounts, and it can be as an extra exercise. You just may send them the link as their homework, or you can do it in class. Of course, you have the leaderboard. You can just fight with time, because everyone can just, once they finish, they can say what time they had. So you can also build a leaderboard also without having the paid account. Okay, so it was what I meant. But there's also one more thing that I absolutely love about Quizlet. Of course, they have tests, but I'm not going to talk about tests right now. But there is Quizlet Classic Live, which I really like with my students. So if you teach random teams or if you teach individuals, it's possible to use Quizlet Live. You need to have at least 2 players if you want to play individual, so you can play with your students. But I think Quizlet teams is really great, especially with adult students. They really like the way how it's organized. They really like the way how everything here is built. So how to use it and how it's basically used with adult students. So here I choose how I want to play. So if they have a Polish word and they have 4 options, or they have English word and they have 4 Polish options, of course, I prefer this one when they have a Polish version and 4 English ones. So I play and I select this way. And now they have a code that they need to rewrite in order to log in. I know that now probably some of you will be watching replays, so I decided that I'm going to show you how they play on a film. Okay, so I prepared a film where everything is explained. All right. So basically, you have your test prepared, and students log in with the address that you saw on the previous screen. So they log in, they write the code, they are assigned to the teams, and then the whole game is about answering the question. But if in a team there are 4 people, just one person in a group has the correct answer. So that means that people cannot keep clicking on whatever they want. They need to be sure that they have the correct answer, and they need to press the correct answer if they have it, because sometimes they just cannot click on anything because their partner has got the right answer. And that's the reason they have to think more in this game, and they really like it. All right, I will just hide the banner first. All right, so let's have a look. Okay, so the teacher prepares a question with 4 correct answers, and students have to click on their mobile phones. All right, which answers are correct. Okay, so basically you click live on a set. The live button doesn't always appear. It appears just when you have, I think, above 12 words in a set. I'm not sure if it's 12, but I'm pretty sure, because sometimes people say that, oh, I don't have this paid account, so it doesn't work. Quizlet Live is present in the free version of Quizlet, but sometimes the button is inactive just because you don't have enough vocabulary on the list. Okay, so you need to add some extra words, and then the button is there. So as you can see here, we have the address www.quizlet.live and the code. The code each time is different. If your students play with mobile phones, which is really advised, they just need to scan the QR code. And once they scan the QR code, they log in, the system divides them into teams, and the system waits for the teacher to start the game. So students rewrite the code, they join the game, and they can see the question. And they can see the question and the answers. So just one person in a team has the correct answer. So his partners in a group don't answer. So I play this game when I have my online students, and they, of course, they cannot consult, oh, Marek, oh, Kate, you don't press because I have the button. They just cannot communicate with one another. Sometimes they make mistakes because they shouldn't click and they click, and the whole game begins from 0. So they go back to this, to the total beginning of the game, and they start from scratch all of the answers and all of the questions. When I play this game in a class, when they virtually sit one another, I don't allow them to change seats. So they need to sit in the places when they were originally sitting, although they, for example, have quite a long way to their partner, because I don't want them to sit and consult their mobile phones, oh, let's play, let's click on that. Oh, you have the answer. Because then you have one student who does all of the work. I want all of them to think, and I want all of them to really prepare the questions. So one person has the correct answer, and sometimes people have to refrain from answering. And you have the teams, and they keep winning, and if, of course, they have all of the answers right. If one of them made a mistake, they start from scratch. And I love Quizlet just because it really helps me to keep score and track of vocabulary. With this feature of pasting vocabulary, for example, from Google documents that I use with my students now, it's easy to create sets, to create tests, to create games, and students really like it. So I really hope that you like all of the exercises and all of the things that I showed you, the Wheel of Fortune from Wordwall, for example. And going back to my presentation and to the previous game that I showed you, there are many more games because that's what I forgot to tell you in the Wordwall. There are lots of games you may play, and once you create a game, just keep changing the arrangement of games you want to play. So there are really lots of different ways. Quizlet, again, a wonderful thing with adults you can do. It looks serious and has very nice mobile application that your students can keep revising vocabulary. Then you can add extra game to that. everyone is satisfied and everyone is happy with that. And Quizlet Live, we have bigger classes, really, really great fun. And remember about Quizlet Micro Match, because that's the thing. Remember about the links. So you have normal match, and then you have to manually change match into micro match in the address button, and then the game really looks better. At the end, I wanted to tell you that remember that less is more. That once you start introducing dices, time, or different apps to your classes, don't do everything during one lesson, because your students might really feel overwhelmed, and less is more. Basically, I love using it and I love bringing it to my classes, but I don't bring it to each class, and I don't bring it all at once, because then I think the result is opposite. And if you like this kind of applications, if you like this kind of pieces of advice, remember that in Education Global, we have lots of different conferences, courses for you to take part in. And soon we are organizing a Fluency Now conference. And that's the web address, education.com/fluency now. And if you visit this website, you will see that it's full of really nice sessions, because it's on the 24th of September, but it will be recorded, and all of the sessions will be available for 10 months, so you'll have lots of time to watch it. And the aim of the conference is to show all different aspects in which fluency plays the key role in our classrooms. So it's really, really important to communicate effectively. And the whole conference is built around this topic. And we have wonderful keynote speakers. Scott Thornberry, who is going to talk about fluency and how to achieve it. He's one of the best teacher trainers in the world. But also we invited Paul Sellingson, really years of experience around the world, and Jamie Keddy, who is a really, really great speaker and great teacher trainer. There will be also Polish teacher trainers like Luisa Witowicz-Waga, that you know from different conferences, and me, Anna Popławska, but also Magda Zawadzka, Dr. Monika Cichmińska, Ewa Trepko, Małgorzata Klecuń, lots of really great specialists in the field, with lots of ideas. And remember, the main scope of the conference is to how to allow your students to develop their fluency faster and in a more effective way. And I'm telling you that because we have last few days, because till Sunday you can buy this conference in the lower price. So still we have the topic. I forgot to show you the topics. Okay, so different aspects of fluency or accuracy, fluency in writing, fear of speaking, also fluency in reading, pronunciation, how to assess and test fluency, drills, discussions, drama, lots of really cool things that you will learn during this conference. Okay, and going back to prices, so now the ticket costs 249 zlotys if you buy in PLN, or 55 euros if you buy in euros, but the prices are going to change. We have the pre-sales of the conference valid till the end of Sunday, till midnight. So you have still around 3 days and few hours to buy it at the lowest price possible. So visit our website and buy the conference now, okay? So I hope that you will take part in the Fluency Now conference. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to see you there in September. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.